Don Lemon, Ahmed Baba here, two brothers talking. As we are streaming to you now, we come on with some breaking news. The FBI redacted Trump's name in the Epstein files. The Bureau's FOIA team request, which is the Freedom of Information Act, team tasked with conducting a final review of the records, blacked out the names before higher-ups said last month that releasing the documents would not be appropriate or warranted. What did they see in these files as it relates to Donald Trump that they are so concerned about, Ahmed? And when you saw it, were you shocked, surprised, or you were like par for the course? Did your spidey go up?
This seems par for the course for a Trump administration seeking to cover up something damning, right? And I think what we have to ask is exactly what those details are, because we knew, as the Wall Street Journal reported, that he was named in these files and that Pam Bondi, when in the White House, briefed him in May that his name was in there. And for them to redact it and then subsequently conclude we're not releasing this tells me that they're trying to hide some pretty nefarious conduct in there. And I know that Pam Bondi, they were saying there's hearsay in there, but nonetheless, there's some damning details that's already more damning than what has already been known, right? So, yeah. And I think now, especially with his comments recently about young girls, which has happened since our last time we talked, where he said young girls were being stolen from Mar-a-Lago, which is disgusting to use that term to refer them as property, number one. But number two, this is his first time, I think, confirming that Virginia Giuffre was recruited from Mar-a-Lago. And that was a key detail that I think could be revelatory of what might be in these files.
Well, it is. But look, the more he tries to get people not to talk about it, the more they talk about it. He's getting more questions about this than all of the things on all of the subjects where he is trying to distract. He's using, I should say, pardon me, to distract from the Epstein case. Everywhere, even when he was in Scotland, Jeffrey Epstein. Now he's back. And considering all this is happening right now, the jobs numbers, which we'll talk about later, not good. Yeah. He is going to Bedminster to play golf this weekend, okay? But here's the thing that got me. So we knew that Donald Trump's name was in there, okay? Yeah. That he was named in the Epstein files. That has been reported and that confirmed last week or so. Now the confirmation is that not only is his name in there, but they went through and redacted it, and then the government said, okay, nothing to see here, move along. So according to this report, it says, we know from news reports that Trump's name was in the Epstein files. But what hasn't been reported is that an FBI Freedom of Information Act team redacted Trump's name and the names of other prominent public figures from the documents, according to 3 people familiar with the matter who were not authorized to speak to the media. Now, I want you to, because I want to go straight, I want to be as precise about this as possible. That team tasked with conducting a final review of the voluminous cache had applied the redactions before the DOJ and the FBI concluded last month that no further disclosure of the files would be appropriate or warranted. Here's the thing that gets me, Ahmed. From the government's perspective, Trump was a private citizen when the Epstein investigation took place, and therefore is entitled to privacy protections.
It's unbelievable. They literally applied FOIA exemptions to justify these redactions that just don't hold any merit. He's now the president of the United States. They're trying to say he's a private citizen. That's what warrants these redactions. And it's very clearly just, I think, a ruse. Like, I don't think there's any real justification for those redactions. I think it sounds, from what I'm reading, I went further in. So they were basically in preparation for potential public release of the files when they were combing through it. And that's when they were doing these redactions. So apparently they were preparing it for potential release, and they decided, I guess, that the details, even if redacted, were maybe so damaging that they still didn't want to release it after that.
Here's the bottom line, according to the report. The FBI's behind-the-scenes decision-making suggests that the chances of aliens resurrecting JFK are greater than Trump's name ever being unredacted from the Epstein files. Of course, Trump could agree to let his name out or sign a privacy waiver or when he and everybody else named in the files eventually dies, most of their privacy rights will disappear.
So we got
That
we
means
got to
that
wait a while.
we're not going to find out.
Sure seems that way. And in the meantime, they're trying to cook up something with Maxwell to maybe try to. So like basically, they're hiding these details. The documentary evidence is what the public needs to see, while they're trying to cook up these other ruses. It's giving cover up energy. I'm just looking through this article. It's just, we know that they told him his name was in it. We now know they redacted his name and then subsequently decided not to release it. That sounds like, there's just so many points to this, right? Step one, they tell him, they say, go look and find Trump's name in these documents. The FBI diverts all these resources, unnecessary amount of resources, to comb through these documents, find his name. They then redact his name. They then choose to tell Trump that his name is in there and then decide not to release it. Sounds like cover up.
That's what it sounds like. Well, it sounds like protection,
Yeah.
right? I call it the cover-uption, which
That's a
would
good one.
be a corruption and cover up all at the same time. Here's the other thing too, as well. Okay, since we're reporting on this, and I don't want to downplay the breaking news and how big this is, because this is huge.
Yeah.
But also, as this was being uncovered and reported as breaking news, Ghislaine Maxwell was quietly moved from Florida to a Texas prison as lawyers seek Trump's pardon.
You just can't make this up, man. Like we were talking about this last week. We were saying one of the things we flagged was that Todd Blanche meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell before everyone began talking about the potential pardon and whether or not she might give details. This sounds like, again, what are they cooking up with Maxwell? This is an untrustworthy witness. This is or not witness, a convicted felon, perpetrator of these crimes who lied repeatedly, has a history of distorting the facts, and yet they're moving her to this other prison. They're now going and deciding. I just want to know, what are they cooking up? Like, I think we're going to get some details from Maxwell that's going to come out, and we have to be very skeptical, because this all coming together is giving it's giving nefarious cover up potential narratives they're going to try to create out of this.
It is totally giving cover up. And I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Also, make sure you hit the hearts, like, thumbs up, and support us here in independent media, because it's really important to us. No matter what platform that we're on, YouTube, Substack, and wherever we're on, make sure you support us, because a lot of these things the real truth comes from independent journalism. And if you have been watching many of the networks, or a number of the networks, they have sort of moved on from the Epstein story to other things, right? And I have been saying this entire time, as you know, my motto, Ahmed, is Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. There's something about it. My spidey senses, we're tingling. And, as I've been saying over and over again, you guys have heard me. I don't know if this is a thing that takes Donald Trump down, but this is certainly breaking the spell from the MAGA cult.
Yeah.
This, though, if they find out, because those files, someone else has to have a copy of those files somewhere. And so they could go back and do the metadata. They can go back and compare the files that they had to these files. But I wonder what is going to happen. Do you think that the administration, you think they're going to try to either destroy the documents that contain Donald Trump's name, and then the only documents that will be available are the redacted documents? Like, this is really some scary cloak and darkness bullshit.
I think it's eventually going to have to come out. Now, I think it's not going to come from the admin. I think what could end up happening here, this is what they might end up doing. Remember with the Mueller report, how they had Barr basically characterize it when they released it, and then that characterization became the narrative that surrounded the report, even though the report itself found those 10 instances of obstruction of justice, right? So effectively, what I think, if this does end up coming out, because right now we're seeing bipartisan effort here. Did you see the Chuck Schumer thing where he did there's like this 5 senator rule where if 5 senators come together, it compels, like they're using existing law and loopholes.
The rule of 5.
The rule of 5, yeah. And eventually this will have to come to light at some point. I think maybe during the Trump administration, because it's just not sustainable. But I think they might try to cook something up. They might try to get some testimony, which should not be trusted, from Ghislaine Maxwell. They might prepare a Barr-like memo to try to shroud the truth of these files. Because, Don, like you're saying, I mean, it's just unsustainable. I don't think we've seen in this Trump second term a scandal that has taken up over a month of airtime and attention, and especially from the MAGA base.
Support for the Don Lemon Show comes from Mint Mobile. You know what doesn't belong in your summer plans, and that is a wireless bill that drains your wallet. While you're planning beach trips or barbecues, the last thing you should stress about is overpaying for phone service. And that is why so many switch to Mint Mobile. You get the same coverage and speed that you're used to for way less. Right now, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans have high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. So keep your phone number and your contacts. My team tried it. The service is crystal clear, totally reliable, and we used plenty of unlimited data with no issues. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your 3-month unlimited plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/DonLemon. That's mintmobile.com/DonLemon. Now, I need to tell you, upfront payments of $45 required. That's $15 a month. That's the equivalent. So limited time for new customers off the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow at 35 GB and with the unlimited plan. Also, fees and taxes will apply. So check with Mint Mobile.
I wonder if Donald Trump, well, obviously he knows what's in there, and I wonder now if this gives him confidence, and that's why he has been fairly confident that, hey, this isn't going to, well, I don't know if he's been fairly confident. I take that back, that this is not going to affect him, but he knew, or he knows, of course he does. What am I thinking here? What am I saying here? He knows that Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are going to do everything in their power to protect him. And that is, and when people ask, well, why did he hire these people? They're flawed. This person is this. Well, why on earth would he hire Pete Hegseth? Because they will do exactly what he wants them to do. Todd Blanche was not only is acting as his personal attorney right now, but has been his personal attorney in criminal matters and in civil matters. He has been Donald Trump's personal attorney. Now he is the assistant attorney general or the deputy attorney general. So what makes any one of us, why would anybody have any confidence that we're going to actually get some pertinent, relevant, factual information out of this administration? That is indeed outrageous, and the American people should be outraged. Not only that, the victims, families, the victims, and the victims' families should be outraged.
Yes, exactly. And on that last point of the victims' families, I just want to point out here for everyone who may not have seen it last night, Virginia Giuffre's family was out there speaking. They were on CNN, they were on MSNBC, they were speaking out in response to Trump saying the comment about Virginia Giuffre being among the young girls that were stolen by Epstein. And of course, I just want to point out there, number one, the stolen terminology is objectifying and disgusting, but also the timeline doesn't match up. And this is where Trump gets himself into trouble and what I think could give us insight into what's in those files. Randomly, Trump started talking about how the reasoning for their falling out was actually about these young women that were poached from his, young girls that were poached from his club. Well, the timeline doesn't match up because that was 4 years. That was the year 2000. It wasn't until 2004 when they had the falling out. And in between that, Trump praised Epstein in 2002. He said that Epstein likes young women. He sent him that reported birthday card the Wall Street Journal reported on in 2003. So why is Trump suddenly talking about this poaching as being the reason, right? These stolen girls as being the reason for the falling out. That tells me that potentially in these Epstein files, we might learn maybe that more than just Virginia Giuffre was taken from Mar-a-Lago, because he's been referring to plural girls. He said others were taken. He randomly just started talking about this a couple days ago. And as we know with Donald, he likes to get ahead of stuff. So for, you talk about spidey senses, my spidey senses tingle there. And I'm like, yo, is he getting ahead of something there? Is that what's in these files? Is that what's been occupying his mind, that he would randomly bring up this poaching that doesn't fit in any timeline of his falling out with Epstein? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do think. I mean, people often send out, signals, as they do with when you're writing something in a play or a book or whatever. You have you're foreshadowing, and so I think he's trying to get out in front of it, as he always does, and he prepares people for it. So when it actually hits, it's not a big surprise. They go, oh, we already knew this, and so it sort of
Exactly.
tamps down the shock, the shocking effect that it would normally have from anyone else who would just be hiding from it. I do believe that he's hiding here in plain sight with all of this stuff.
A thousand
And
percent.
and obviously, I do think that he's being protected. At first, I said, who knows? There's nothing. It's not so bad. We don't know if it's going to be so bad. I don't think that there's anything that I don't know now. And
Yeah.
this is a story that I was not very interested in before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, your dog's chiming in there like, yo, like this is surprising me too. For real, like this is not a story because especially given how MAGA was framing it last year as the list was going to take down Democrats exclusively, it really became something that felt more like a conspiracy theory at times. But the victims are very real, and Trump's friendship with Epstein is very real. And every time opens his mouth, he deepens this scandal, reveals more information. The reporters on Air Force One in that press pool, I got to give him props for the way they pushed him and drew that information out that it was Virginia, that he was aware in apparently real time that Virginia Giuffre was taken in 2000. He's never revealed that he was potentially in real time aware of the sex trafficking. He doesn't know about the sex trafficking. We don't know, but she was sex trafficked at that time, and he was aware apparently of this recruitment. The question becomes, which is what Virginia's family is asking, what else did he know in that time? Did he know what Epstein was doing with these women and the way these young girls? The way he's behaving tells me that there's something. He has no more elections to run. This is something so deeply damaging to his reputation. Something so horrible. We're past statute of limitations probably on some of this too. What is he hiding that he thinks is so devastating? Homeboy has no more elections to run, that he's willing to take himself through a month of this news cycle without releasing the files.
Yeah. Well, here's what I want to know. I think the reporting is that Virginia Giuffre was 16 years old whenever when she was victimized or trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. And if he poached her from Mar-a-Lago, how old was she? She was 16 or 17 when it happened. And
Yeah.
so why is she working in a spa at Mar-a-Lago at 16 or 17? And what was she doing? Now, I don't know, but I'm just saying that's very young. And now you're saying if there are others. All of it is, as you said, it's that it seems obvious. It does seem obvious, and I always point to Occam's razor that says it's the most obvious one, or the simplest explanation is the explanation. It's obvious that they're hiding something. It's obvious that they are protecting someone. They're protecting Donald Trump, and you can't say that they're not, because the redaction. That's in their statement about the redaction. They're saying that he was acting as a private citizen and they're protecting his rights as a private citizen. Therefore, they are redacting. So to say that they are protecting him is not an untrue statement. They are protecting him. But what is there to protect there?
Yes. And that's the question. And that's what he continues to, I think, reveal and hint at with his repeated comments, unprompted. No one pulled that out of him to say Epstein was poaching young girls. He brought that up starting Monday, unprompted, got into more detail about it as reporters dug in. So we're going to see what this reveals. And also, if you're watching this, hit that like button, engage in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Also hit the subscribe button, both Don Lemon and Ahmed Baba's newsletter here. We do this independently. We're out here just trying to find the truth, because this is really, I don't think anyone could have thought that this would unfold the way it did. It's really just taken on a life of its own. And what I want to ask you is, if you could ask him one question, you've been doing this for a long time and you've been in the game. What follow-up would you want to ask him right now if you were like in that press pool, or you had an interview with him on CNN?
I would say, your administration has been saying that you want transparency surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, not only for the victims, but for the victims' families as well. And so your name has been mentioned in the Epstein files. Why are you redacting your name if you have nothing to hide? And if considering that you say you want transparency, you've also been mentioning other people who are in the Epstein files. You've been willingly using their name. So why not your own? What is different that you and the other people? You mentioned Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was a private citizen at the time as well. So then what is the difference? If Bill Clinton should be mentioned, if you are mentioning other people's names, then why not your name? And why did Pam Bondi do what she did? Why did the FBI people do what they did before you made this? You had this 180, and I would just keep pressing him on that. I
Yeah,
would just keep pressing him on that, and Caroline Levitt in the briefing room. That should be every single question because everything else is a distraction.
100%. Because that's the focal point. That's also a good observation on your part. He's naming these other people. They're private citizens. Do they not deserve that same protection? So what is the double
No.
standard there? And also, my main question is like, what other young girls were poached? You keep saying plural. You keep saying people. You keep saying young women were included. He uses the word young women, but they're girls. How many were
Yeah.
taken by Epstein from Mar-a-Lago? How many was he aware of in real time? And if he was aware of it, why didn't he report it to the police?
Mm-hmm. And why won't he release, as someone in the comments says, why won't you release the original records would be my thing.
Yes.
And I just don't know. I don't know how they can continue to spend this. I do think that his MAGA faithful or the podcast bros or whatever who have been supporting him, they're going to lose their minds over this.
Oh, yeah. This
They're going
is
to lose their minds over this. He's not helping his own case here. But I don't. Maybe it doesn't matter. He can hold out being president. He won't. Suffer any consequences for it. But
but
what happens to the people who really believe that there is some Democrat, according to them, scandal, that the Democrats are pedos and that they are abusing children? What happens to those people?
they have to eventually come to the realization that the person in Washington with the closest relationship to Epstein is the president that they love. Like they eventually, it's going to have to come to that realization. And either way, I think that the reason why some people say Democrats should stop talking about this. I'm sure you've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some people saying this. This ties into everything. This is about a person who promised to root out elites, who promised to come in and take out this cabal of corrupt individuals, who's revealing he is one of them himself. And at the same time, you then can tie that message into the reverse Robin Hood policies he has that takes from the poor, gives to the rich. This just further shows that he's a corrupt elite protecting other corrupt elites. Why won't you release this Epstein file if there's all these other people named that you deem are these corrupt Democrats? Release the files, bro. Release the files.
Release the files. We're going to end it here because there's so much, and I got to get on the breaking news. Ahmed Baba, two brothers talking. Technical difficulties happen, but we'll address that. Thank you, sir. I'll see you next time, okay?
All right. See you, brother. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.